we call this a very special edition of our show today. Punky, listen.
What's Brewster. Happening here?
The adoption agency called Punky Brewster.
What are you doing?
It's a very special episode of Punky. Hey guys, it's your best five friends. I'm Kelsey. That's Rachel. Today I wanted to pause more than normal. And here we go.
We're going to talk about this crazy weekend because it was Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., the event that for us at least crossed out of our normal circles.
Oh no, this event, not many people in my life have reached out to me in some way and watched the fight or were talking about the fight since Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor in 2017, and before that it was probably when Floyd Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao in 2015. Yeah. So is this going to be the third biggest boxing pay-per-view in history? Maybe. It might be. It really might.
I'll be curious to see, be able to see the numbers on that, see what comes back, because we definitely,
I mean, there was definitely like a lot of noise on social media about how, this is terrible and it's not a real fight, and who's going to buy it? But then I didn't notice anybody wasn't watching it. Everybody was watching it on social media, so definitely, I was
we can get into that.
It was fun. I liked it.
I'm going to try to, this will go on YouTube, I'm also going to try to do an audio-only version so it can potentially be a podcast episode.
I'm thinking it's going to be a number one hit on the radio station.
A radio station.
Right? We're going platinum, triple platinum, baby.
Just to let you know, we're going to attempt to see if we can start downloading these on for podcasts.
Now, do we download them or do we upload them and then they download them?
All right.
Is there a crossload?
Tyson, let's just talk first about the fight. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Now, I was kind of concerned that what I was seeing, the clips I was seeing of Tyson weren't very accurate. But my tune changed because I saw live footage via his Instagram, but you could tell like it was just somebody, put this on Instagram, him warming up before the fight, and I was like,
Oh, he looked pretty good.
He looks pretty good.
For being 54 years old.
Then I went to Roy's accounts, and I was like, he's not posting anything, so I couldn't get a glimpse of Roy before the fight started, but Tyson looked good. So the match between them, there was all this, talk about like these guys are just old and blah blah blah, but they
look pretty good.
They look pretty good in the
ring. They look really good, especially in Tyson.
I have seen worse boxing matches.
I thought both of them look good. The problem that Roy has was kind of explained by Max Kellerman on Twitter. If you follow Max Kellerman, longtime boxing aficionado, an expert, he argued that Mike Tyson was the technically more precise fighter. Like, as far as technically speaking, how his movements were and are were more technically correct.
And that Roy was like the more athletic guy, right?
So
in his prime?
Roy's prime, never been a better fighter I've seen in my life. But that prime starts to go away somewhere around age 33, and then it never returns. And so while I thought Roy fought a good fight, he's never going to be what he was, right?
And we've talked about this with other fighters.
Mike could more closely recreate something similar to what he was because
there are certain styles that age
just
well.
About style.
So I think a Floyd Mayweather ages well.
Yeah, it does.
I think...
And we knew that. We were talking about that, you and I, before he got old. Mm-hmm. His style will age well because of just the style it is.
Yeah, but there's some styles that don't age well. And it might be that Roy's style, which depended so heavily on athleticism, hasn't aged as well. I would also say that when I saw Roy come in the ring for this,
he had that look in his eye.
He had nerves. Like he was, it made me a little unsteady.
Me too.
His nerves were emanating out from California all the way to Texas. And I was like, I could feel it, And it took him a round or two for those nerves to get out. Now I heard Tyson smoked a bunch of weed before the fight.
So he was chill. He was totally calm and chill.
So he didn't deter from his regular, activities. And yeah, he came in because, he was the A side, so he came in second. And he came in like he owned the place, like he walked in with confidence.
He literally did own the place.
He just, so it was just that coming in. But I thought once the fight got going, are they in their 50s? Yes. Is it apparent that they're older? Yes.
Was it fun though? Yes.
It was a really fun fight to
enjoyed
watch.
it.
When
Well-
you take just this skill that they were able to bring, even over the age of 50, plus the nostalgia.
Man,
I mean,
nostalgia.
I'm all for
I
like.
loved it.
I
I
was like,
can't wait. I was totally against Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 3, but now I'm all for it. I want to see that fight. Why not?
Now, the only thing I will say is it looked like Mike Tyson was the better conditioned out of the two as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, say we started a seniors league in professional boxing, right? And you had Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., Evander, like all these people, right?
Lennox. Sorry, Lennox Lewis.
That's
an inside joke.
Are they all going to look more like Roy and less like Tyson? I don't know what Tyson's doing behind the scenes.
I know that
it could be some, but they did do VADA testing for this, right? So
I mean,
But he
I don't
looked
know. I know
really
that
well-conditioned.
Evander's older. He thinks he's 58, so I don't necessarily really want to see Evander back in the
Yeah.
ring. But he is in incredible shape too. And I'm never against people getting to do what they want. There's a guy at the boxing gym I go to, Main Street, who's way older than those guys. And he's still competing as an amateur. Let them do what they want to do. That's what they want to do.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I got some passion about this thing. And this is that the idea out there, what I hear lots of people talking about is apparently once you get to a certain age, you're not allowed to have dreams. You're not allowed to pursue any dreams. You're not allowed to do what you want in life. There are limited things that you can do, and then that's it. Otherwise, you're a joke. You're washed up. Like, there is some serious ageism out there, and I am I find I'm
It's just
infuriated
like, I feel
by
like
it.
I don't know if it's ageism. I mean, whatever you want to call it. I think that in a lot of ways, sometimes it emanates from a good place and that you love, say, Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson, and you don't want to see them get hurt. Fine, but this is boxing, and here's the thing. It's not really intellectually sound because there's all sorts of guys that Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson beat the crap out of that you've never heard of and never saw again, that went 5-20 in the sport, and nobody told them those guys couldn't fight, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's more about we, the fans, tend to want to hold on to things instead of just letting things be what they are.
But I see this in different areas as well.
Yeah.
So another recent example is when we had the instant replay debacle in boxing, and man, people jumped on the referee because he was in it so old, so he couldn't watch a replay monitor. Like, it's not the one he's in the truck. Like, I don't get this thing that if you're over a certain age, you're just like, oh, I can't do anything. I can't hear you. I can't I think it infuriates me. I think people deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and that it doesn't matter what age you are. It's okay for you to live life fully, boldly.
Yeah, and to fail, to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson is a 3-time NBA dunking champ, played for a whole bunch of teams, was a really good player. Also played college football and college basketball. That's sort of great athlete he was. Nate Robinson talked himself into a fight against Jake Paul, this is Jake Paul's second professional fight.
Yeah.
He's been fighting for over a year now. I've been training, he says, all the time, and it looks like he has been. And man, he got wrecked in 2 rounds, got knocked out. I talked to Nate Robinson twice before he fought, and I kind of talked to him about what boxing is and what boxing isn't. But Nate Robinson put in that work, right? Mm-hmm. I thought that Nate might be able to handle the pressure because he was an NBA player.
You thought his athleticism might carry the day.
That wasn't what I was worried about.
Okay.
I was worried about once you get in the ring and the bell rings and it's just you and another guy, sometimes the natural thing is to freak out about that. Okay?
Yeah.
In any fight, really.
So you thought you'd be able to handle the pressure?
Yeah, and don't fight. I just literally talked to him about the best fighters do not fight with great emotion. Look at Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Even though he turns it on, he doesn't fight with emotion. Floyd Mayweather doesn't have a lot of emotion when he fights. That's not the thing that wins fights, and that's a hard thing to teach until you've experienced it. And so he wouldn't have really been able to experience that until he's there. That being said, man, on Sunday, the Nate Diaz challenge thing, everybody's trolling this guy for getting knocked out. This guy has done way more than, I guarantee you, anybody who's doing that, probably, he's accomplished more in his life than the vast majority of people that are, talking noise on the internet.
Well,
Some people talk about doing things. Other people actually do it. Nate Robinson did it. He lost the fight. He got knocked out. So what? He was willing to put himself out there and really try that. He really did train his butt off for weeks and weeks. And I hate to see this pile-on mentality as if maybe he shouldn't. Maybe the fight shouldn't happen. Maybe they were mismatched, okay? But this kind of thing happens all the time in boxing. We see these kind of fights.
That's a separate issue.
He wanted to do it. He put his effort into it. He kept trying to win. He got knocked down, 3 times before he got knocked out? He kept getting up. I would rather talk about that than trolling some guy for losing a fight.
Yeah. What is the adage? It's better to have tried and failed than never tried at all.
Yes, Teddy Roosevelt. That is exactly the adage. Is it Teddy Roosevelt?
I don't know.
Or is that Franklin? Is it Eleanor Roosevelt? Is it a Roosevelt at all? What's the lady's name? Who's super vulnerable. Let's talk about
Brene Brown.
She talks about this a lot, and it's true. Congratulations to Nate, put himself out there. Let's be better, people, especially if you're in the boxing community. Treat people that come into our community, are part of our community, better.
The only thing that I will disagree with you about is I'm not opposed to the Nate Robinson challenge because I'm all for having a good laugh. You know what I mean?
It's fine if it comes from a good place.
If it comes from a good place. So if
I see a lot that doesn't.
If people are just being ugly and tearing this guy down, then no.
Hey,
let's give Nate props and then maybe have a little laugh.
I mean, it is funny,
because this happens. But I think it's spectacular. It's fantastic what Nate Robinson chose to go out there and do.
And I've been knocked down both figuratively and in real life. And yeah, it happens. It can happen to anybody. But I think that I just don't want to see the ugliness out there.
When I can speak to the other side, which is I practically lived a good long life, very rarely ever doing anything that I might fail at. And looking back, I feel I am like, oh, what did I miss out on? What could I have done because I wasn't ever willing to take any risk? I mean, when I went to college, I majored in the major that just made sense and I knew I could do well in. There were other things I wanted to do, but I was like, I'm not good at math or science, so I guess I'm not even going to try. So I think that it's better to do the thing you feel that passion for. Well, do it. Yeah, you failed, but hey, that's also where the growth comes from. If Nate Robinson would want to pursue more boxing, tons to have been learned from this whole outing.
Mostly it's the emotion thing, because he did put in the work. We've seen he got better on the mitts. He was training, he said, every day for hours.
This is why you can't rush somebody in a ring.
Well, yeah, you definitely,
it's a risky
if you're in a boxing ring and you're boxing somebody, you never can rush straight towards them with your head on a direct line. Because Jake Paul didn't even have to look. He could just blindly throw a punch and it's going to land.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, hey, it's better to try and do something and fail and learn than to not have done anything at all. I liked the fight when it was made. I like these stupid kind of fights. With not stupid because it's a social media guy fighting the NBA guy who they're both pretty much novices.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is Jake Paul calling out Conor McGregor. It's crazy on 2 levels. The first level is, of course, that Jake Paul weighs 200 pounds and Conor McGregor is in the 155-pound weight class. Now, he fights sometimes ahead of that. Secondly, there's a vast disparity. As much weight as there's a vast disparity in skill level between a professional MMA fighter and a novice professional boxer who just very recently picked up the sport. You don't want that smoke, and neither does his brother Logan Paul. Same, maybe bigger weight difference. You don't want that disparity in skill. Trust me, I've experienced that. You do not want that. It's a skill. It's not about who's bigger. It's a skill, and if somebody's that far ahead of you, there's nothing you can do to catch up to them except put in a large amount of time, which is not one fight camp, which is what Nate Robinson should have just taught you.
Right. I agree. I want to talk about Triller. I didn't know what this was. I don't know what Triller was. I wasn't sure.
Why did they should have busted Triller?
Thriller?
That probably costs a lot. But anyway.
I wasn't sure, I was like, oh, how are we going to even get this pay-per-view? Because I don't know what Triller is. It ended up being the easiest technology that we've
technology that I don't understand, really.
Kelsey just got it, and it just streamed to our TV.
All of a sudden on my TV, and then I just turned my phone completely off, and it's like, still streaming. And I'm like, okay, that's weird.
But their production of the entire, evening was somehow just fantastic, and it's outside my pay grade, so I can't even pinpoint what it was. But what I do know is that with no crowd there, they made it feel like this was still a huge event. I didn't even notice no crowd. And so I saw somebody on Twitter pointed out that when you're watching on TV, everything was black. It was a black, you couldn't see behind the commentators a whole bunch of empty seats. You couldn't. So it kind of gave it this sleek, nice feel, and then you had a white ring right in the middle, and it was
a tiny ring.
I wasn't sure how the between fight musical performance was going to go, but I gotta say, I liked it too. I don't even know who some of these people are.
I know who they are now because we're old.
But
I was like, oh, Snoop Dogg, I know who that is.
Before it started, I was just I'm not a huge fan of live music via my TV, and I'm not. I'm a huge Killers fan, and a friend of mine not too long ago was like, Rachel, Pandora's doing a live Killers concert on TV, and I was like, I want to see a concert on TV. I want to be there in person. So I wasn't, excited for these musical performances, but I have to say it was a pleasant viewing experience because in between fights I'm on Twitter anyway, so I'm just on Twitter and I got this music in the background and it all looked good even visually when I was watching. I don't know, their whole thing I just thought was good, and the only time it felt a little long was because the Paul Robinson fight was short. They had a little bit of time to stretch, right? So we got Snoop Dogg's performance, and then the commentators had to stretch a little bit. But having Snoop Dogg on that commentating team, guys.
Man, I loved everything. I loved Mario Lopez saving everybody by the bell. I loved Israel Adesanya just throwing shade at the UFC, most of the time he's on the mic. I like Sugar Ray Leonard bringing the same thing that Sugar Ray Leonard always brings to the webcast.
Well, can we say
webcast? To the stream.
Israel Adesanya, that is another element of this where I was like, we got a UFC guy calling a boxing fight. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but he did a really good job. And he said at the end of the podcast, he said at the end of the event, that was his first time.
Yeah, and he didn't mount anybody. I thought that was good. If you know about Israel Adesanya.
And then I like Mauro
Ronaldo, who was a late addition. It was supposed to be Al Bernstein. But Bernstein got the COVID.
Oh,
so we send our thoughts and prayers out to Al Bernstein to get well soon from the COVID.
Goodness. But I like Mauro. He, with all his alliteration, he has a voice that you're definitely going to hear.
He was like, Fistic Fury! I mean, I think it was meant to be, right? I think it was perfect.
That combination of people, and who knew that, Snoop Dogg would be so entertaining.
I feel like there was one low-hanging fruit that they missed. They could have brought in Larry Merchant and just left Larry by himself, just stewing in Larry Merchantism.
They could have just
and then every once in a while cut to him and give him 10 minutes to just rail on everything. Remember what's his face on 60 Minutes? It was what was that guy's name?
Andy Rooney.
He's like, I don't like rubber bands. Rubber bands are bad. It could have just turned into that whole vibe and just brought it,
Oh,
that, my friends, is a big part of boxing.
That might have been epic. He could have been our unofficial scorer, and they could have cut to him every once in a while.
And of course, we love Larry Merchant. He
we
really
is
love
Larry.
Probably the best at what he's done.
Yeah.
I just miss those with HBO. He would start talking, and then it would just zoom in on him, and he would just go, and he was great at it. I don't know how he could come up with such great things so quickly and so fast.
Yeah.
And he was great at it. I love it. I miss it. I want it back.
Yes. And so I just want to give a huge, applause to Triller. And I want to watch all my boxing pay-per-views on Triller. Hey, I don't think we have the rights to that either, so.
That's a remix, though.
Okay, all right. All right, anything else from the weekend? I mean, real quick, we can just say we didn't watch...
there also was actual boxing.
Yeah. The card started before the pay-per-view. It had an opening bout that was real exciting.
Joe Joyce beat... Daniel Dubois in a huge fight.
So that was
in the
on
UK.
DAZN.
That was massive and a great win for the Juggernaut.
Yeah. Friday night we had Danny Jacobs beat Gabriel Rosado.
I thought that Mike Tyson and Roy Jones fight, they put more effort
more like that
into
than
the Jacobs Rosado fight was.
Yeah.
For both of them, really. I thought Rosado had a big
both of
complaint,
them,
but I'm
but,
dude, you should have thrown more punches. You could have won this fight.
Yeah. You got to take a risk if you want to
You're
win.
out there trying to
Who was it
win
that we saw it was quite a while ago now. It was Danny Garcia and
it was
Keith Thurman?
Yeah, when the first half of the fight was great, and the second half, it's like, who wanted it less?
Yeah.
Like who's going to put their mark on this?
Like,
Neither one. Let's leave it the
I'm not going to take a risk. Danny
Garcia
anyways,
learned from that.
Frustrating. Yeah, I mean, it's been better, much better since then, but... Yeah, and then we did not watch the UFC Fight Night because it aired almost near the same time
and also because the main event was
Tyson Triller. Curtis Blades had a positive COVID test to the main event, but congrats to Anthony Smith, who was in the new main event.
I love Anthony Smith.
And won his fight, and we like him, so congrats to him. So it was a really fun weekend. I loved Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, and when they did their post-fight interviews, I thought Mike Tyson was real lovable, and he was great with Roy, because I wasn't sure how that was going to go down after they just fought each other, and I loved hearing Roy talk. His faith is really beautiful, and his love for Pensacola, Florida, I just love it, because you could tell he was in some pain. And when Jim Gray was like, "You guys you're gonna do it again or whatever? You're gonna be back?"
I don't know about this.
Roy, he was like, I think he's happy to be retired, but he instead was like, you know what? We'll see what Pensacola has to say. And I was like, he got hit a lot by Mike Tyson for 8 2-minute rounds.
Roy Jones was not a heavyweight. He might have won a title in the heavyweight division.
And
he was not a heavyweight.
Definitely felt it. And he said it. He was like, he hit me all over. I hurt everywhere is what he said. So it was awesome. Man. And Mike, for his part, said Roy got him with a really good left hook. So it was just really great. I'm really I'm just really happy, Oh,
gosh, Rachel, this show was so long. Tell them what they want.
Hey, you want the chance to listen to this on a podcast.
You can watch it here.
If I can get it done.
Listen to it, and then watch it while you listen to it.
Yeah, so it'll go up
I
on
guess you have to watch it on
YouTube in pieces. I'll break it up, and then I'm going to see if I can figure out the podcast thing. So we'll just see.
One day at a time, baby.
Yeah, you'll have to...
Pensacola in the house.
If you follow us on, Twitter, Kelsey McCarson, Rachel McCarson, or Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel on Facebook. I'll post, the podcast stuff there.
And I'll just do weird faces.
All right. And that's the end of this. All right, thanks. Thanks for watching or listening.